Hello, Billy Reeves here. Welcome to the Kscope Podcast. Lovely to have you along. The time is now for the Big Sound interview with Klone backstage supporting Devin Townsend in Bexhill-on-Sea. Big Blackfield news, an anniversary for the progenitors of the Big Sound Anathema, and our new boys' album out now, Empyre. Before we hear from Henrik from the band, this is Waking Light. The album's called Relentless, they're called Empyre, that is entitled Waking Light. There's been some planning and scheming behind the scenes, a building of a fan base, and Empyre are now ready. Here's front person Henrik.
I'm still struggling to describe myself as a musician, because this is something that I've wanted to do for years, and now suddenly we're going. It's an effort to get the band to make a profit, and I'm not, that's not me trying to, weepy story or anything like that. It's just a case of that's how it is. We've been really focusing on Empire since 2016, and before that, Did and I were in a covers band for years together, and meant to write.
Learning your chops.
Well, yeah, it was that thing of, it was easier to be in a covers band. It was going quite well. It brought in a reasonable amount of pocket money, at least, and then we got bored of playing Sex on Fire and Sweet Home Alabama, and
I decided to form a group where it's bang in the middle of those two styles.
You could describe it that way. I mean, I use those two examples because I never liked playing Sweet Home Alabama, but it was okay, well, we'll do it just because it's an easy crowd pleaser. And I didn't mind doing Sex on Fire, but did got to detest that song by the end. It was like his face would curl when I put it on a set list. So
I know a DJ who has a very similar relationship with that record, the recorded version.
And you can understand it, because it wasn't just overplayed by anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah, still is. I work for a local BBC local radio station, and we still play the fucking thing.
I mean,
it's rude. I've written to the highest, but it's rude. We can't play that at 10 o'clock in the morning. It's rude.
Oh yeah, I mean, Frankie says relax, but it
rude.
should be banned, but all manner of reasons. But
so had you written original songs before?
Yeah, I think we started actually writing bits and pieces in around about 2012. It was a case of recording stuff on phones, or we'd go around to one or other's house, just a basic setup at that stage of one mic or a phone mic, or we'd do somehow we'd kind of record a few ideas and play around, but it didn't really get that serious until probably 2014, once we'd got a few songs together, and a couple of the guys who were in the covers band with us, we managed to get into a studio to record an EP in 2015. And then I wanted to take things further, so we parted a company with kind of both of those guys, but one of them stayed with us until 2016 to do the second EP. Those two EPs then were added to with another 5 songs, and that became Self-Aware, our first electric album, in 2019. So it was that kind of, it was stop-start a lot of that time, but by the time it got to kind of mid-late 2016, I said, look, this is what I want to do rather than the covers band. Want to focus on Empire. Did was also with me on that front. And then since then, over the course of a couple of years, we had another change of drummer, and we had another change of bass player. And then since about 2017, actually, must have been probably around March 2019 that Elliot, the drummer, joined the band, and we've been set ever since.
From your testimonials, there's a couple of leitmotif, isn't there, from classic rock and BBC Introducing, talking about you being arena ready, and also the guy that our mutual friend, dear old Johnny Wilkes, talks about when they play a festival they turn heads, which is interesting. So it seems that all is all kind of making sense now, is that you've paid your dues, your rock and roll dues, and Empire has been going long enough for you now to be ready. And also, the other thing I pick up from what you're saying there and your testimonials and what I've heard of your fantastic record is that you're kind of unashamed about that, and I really like that. I like saying, okay, yeah, come on, we know how this is done, we want to turn heads, we want to be big. Would that be fair? Do you want to be big?
Yeah, that's
music suits it.
Thank you, and thanks for saying we've got a great album. That's someone once asked us right at the beginning of Did and I focusing on getting this to a high enough level that we were satisfied with, what do you want to do with Empire? And the first thing I thought of was, well, I want to play the biggest rock festivals of Europe to start with, and if it goes from there, that's great. I mean, I just want to test out, and perhaps test is the wrong word, but I want to test out Empire on an arena stage. I want to see if it works. Yes, we write arena rock, basically, and that's what I'm aiming for when I write a song. That's what Did and I try and do. We are unashamed about that.
And that can also be, as you discussed earlier on, that you've done quieter, more introspective records as well. So, a good song can be translated to the acoustic guitars behind you there.
Yeah, a lot of them were written on acoustic guitars. It would typically, the early days was I'd have an acoustic, didn't have an electric guitar, and we would start like that. So quite a few of those tracks from the first album, Self-Aware, started out on acoustic. There are a few that started out like Forget Me, that song from the new album Relentless. That was I wanted to write what I thought was a nice acoustic riff and then take it into something that sounds, big and epic by the end of the song. That was, the plan. We like the acoustic side of things. We always like that MTV unplugged vibe. We still do some gigs like that too, because it's just something we've always enjoyed.
Do you get up every gig and go, every gig's the same, whether or not I'm playing in front of 20,000 people or 200 drunken Northamptonians?
We try to approach it that way, but it's impossible to approach it that way because it's a give and take whenever you go and perform. A lot of the time we're playing to crowds who, some people will know us and a lot of people are unfamiliar with what we do. So we have to start off by winning them over. Now, if they then respond well, we will try to up our game even more to respond to what they're doing, and it's kind of a back and forth, almost like a tennis match that maybe we can like build ourselves up into an amazing rally. But so we had that experience. We did a couple of dates with Gun before Christmas, and I was unsure how that was going to work as a crowd. I liked Gun, liked them in the 90s, bought the Swagger album, and but I wasn't sure whether our slightly more downbeat melancholy vibe would go down. Fair. But we could tell by a couple of songs in, even though they were new songs, so even the people who come to see us were pretty much unfamiliar with them, that it was going well, and we got a great response in the 2 gigs that we did with them. And it's interesting
because in this modern world, or post-pandemic world where people are making introspective records, they're making records cheaply, they're making records on laptops. To come out and now be a big rock act is really interesting, I think, for a couple of reasons. One is that I think in the UK we tend to see rock in a different way as they do in the States. In the States, that's party music. If we were having you and I were having a party, despite being rock fans, we'd put Chic on. In the States, they would put on the Stones. They put on rock and roll. So I think it's interesting that what your job, Henrik, is to go out and give people a good night out.
Yes, it is, but I think I always see it as different forms of that. It depends what you're going to for a gig. We've definitely had people who've come to see us and we're supporting way more what I would call party bands, and been disappointed that we aren't bouncing around on stage. We're not smiling on stage particularly, and that's not a choice.
That's because you're playing in England.
It's just I had one lady that came up to us a few years ago and was literally complaining that we need to smile more. I was smiling at her while listening to it. Just why?
No, this is art school. Yeah, man.
So it's become a bit of a joke with us because of the bands that we play with, many of whom are excellent at what they do, but they are way more kind of party orientated and upbeat. So we come on and we, as we say, we kill the vibe. So we start using that hashtag of killing the vibe. We've got a T-shirt that says killing the vibe. We've got a T-shirt that has 3 rules. The Empire rules of a gig are no singing, no clapping, and no looking as if you're having a good time.
Excellent. But at the same time, you are entertaining them. They are there to drink the booze out of the plastic cups.
And
that's what rock and roll was invented
for.
And
if you enjoy a bit of dark sarcasm at the same time, more's the better.
Watch them torn apart, sinking too far, falling down and bleeding out, rolling while I run and now they're screaming out. Watch them torn apart, sinking too far, falling down and bleeding out, rolling while I run and now they're screaming out.
Is when it comes to geography, is Northampton where the north starts? Because again, I'm also fascinated that rock music in England tends to be kind of north of where you are, and in the south we tend to be in different things. You're not really the Midlands. Is Northampton where the north starts?
I've heard some people say that the north starts north of the Watford Gap, and that is just outside Northampton.
Southerners say that.
So it's like,
Yeah.
we're about as central as it gets. I don't consider us to be in the north of England. I do consider us to be probably more southerners than northerners. That's just where I sit on it.
Because I think the spirit of your sound is a northern sound. You know, it's gritty and it's a bit industrial, and it's, as you say, it's gloomy, it's dreich, it's rainy. Is that something that comes from the experience of your environs, or the experience of the music you're influenced by?
The music that I'm influenced by and that Did's influenced by, we just happen to like the melancholy. It means more to us than, and this goes back to what we were discussing a bit earlier, that there were some people, it depends what you're looking for in a good time. What I look for in writing a song, and when I go out for a band, is I want the hairs on my arms to stand up. I want the shivers. I want that kind of tingling feeling, as if it's making a connection in that way, rather than jumping around. That's all well and good sometimes, but it's just that's so.
Yeah. But that's the English art school way. You know, I mean, the British, the English invented pop music by taking, American idioms like rhythm and blues, adding the art school, the English melancholia, and then adding the musical tradition. That equation equals the Beatles, which is the beginning of all rock music, probably. So I think English melancholia is very important to an English band, and I think you've got it in spades. Great.
Thank you. That's what we're aiming for. It's like when people say that they shed a tear, or it hits them emotionally. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Which the Americans don't do. I think that's why a lot of the time you have the strange culty things on the Western East Coast. Radiohead, XTC, for example, where groups hit in America. Coldplay, actually, to a lesser degree as well, by keeping things simple, because the Americans haven't got anything like that. And combined with being a rock, an arse-kicking rock band as well. So, what's the future of music, Henrik? That's another question I ask everybody, because there's a lot of the groups on Kscope that have survived the pandemic, and they worked through the pandemic. Some, like Marius Dudar, went very introspective, did a little electronic album. Some, like Jonathan Hulten, videoed all of his album, went out into the forest and videoed it, said, okay, this is the only place I'm allowed to play, and I'm going to play this. But now we're obviously the pandemic is still on, that's why it's called a pandemic. But as we come out of that and we start to socialise again, I think groups like yourself that work in this very modern way have got a future. What's the future? I mean, the future of kind of indie rock and electronic music is set, but what's the future of rock music? Do people want to still go to rock concerts? Is there an audience outside the UK? What's the future for you and for rock music, would you say?
Well, I can't answer, is there an audience outside of the UK? I think there is, and perhaps there's a bigger audience outside of the UK, because we've only ever played outside the UK once. But from what I've been told by friends who are tour managers and that sort of thing, it's often the case that, especially in Central and Eastern and Northern Europe, that it's if you're playing rock, they would, and I don't mean to diss the UK at all, but they would rather be playing there than playing in the UK, because it's bigger crowds and they get a better response, and they get treated better by some of the venues and those sorts of things. But we all know about the problems of us getting out of the country at the moment. So without wanting to dig into that, the future of music, I've got two main concerns. One is the future of live music and getting people to come to gigs and filling rooms, selling tickets, pulling people away from the sofa, or just the competition of other bands. It has always been, but it's expensive for us, it's expensive for you, the audience member, and as that just goes up and up and up. I remember reading something just the other day about Devin Townsend saying how expensive it is to do his tour, and why tours have got to be so long just to make it work. And it's a concern. The other one is, in one way, AI. And I know you've touched on this on recent podcasts in terms of, well, how long before someone can create the perfect ABBA song that isn't written by ABBA? I remember Happy Shopping. Was that what it was? Happy Shopping?
Yeah, Happy Shopping, Happy Shopping. I'm still singing it.
You can tell it wasn't.
It was close.
It was bad and it was comical. But if you're that close already, and then there's Nick Cave talking about it last week with ChatGPT coming up with a bunch of lyrics, and he took the mickey out of it and said it sucked, but he knows where it's going, and he's worried. And
ABBA are playing as holograms.
Yeah, I do like ABBA, but I would never go and see them as their avatars or whatever they call them. That would just, I know they've got a live band as well, but it's just like, it's not Benny and Bjorn, is it?
Creepy. It's creepy. It's creepy, isn't it? And of course, a band that were never really that comfortable playing live. They're better now. They're not there. I think all of those things are fair, and I think also the obviously, as you touched on with Brexit, we also we're living under a Tory government who are very keen to destroy the arts as much as they possibly can, because it doesn't fit into their narrative and their class war. But the other thing that I think has always concerned me is that, and you touched on it there, is that in England, this is probably an English problem, is that we do treat musicians like shit. In Ireland, Tony Coe, the British jazzer, is a friend of mine because I know his son, Gideon, and Tony Coe said to me once that he was just moving from Ireland to France, being a jazzer, and he was saying in Ireland the musician sits with the priest and the doctor, which I thought was a great phrase, and obviously he's off to Paris to pick up a few jazz gigs. In Britain, England possibly, the musician is treated like a scumbag, and I just don't know why. Why is that?
I can't necessarily agree with that, because we've just sold out our first headline gig, and that just tells me that there are people who are discovering us and want to come and see us and rate us highly enough, and they're all very friendly and nice. So I don't feel that way, but I do feel that it is very difficult to for us to cost effectively gig as much as we would like to, and we're still trying to grow a band. It's not like a lot of the other artists and musicians that have been and are in Kscope bands. They were way more worldly wise than I am in terms of how a musician is considered in this country versus how they're considered wherever else around and treated. So I can only talk from my experience, and our fans are amazing. Just to date, we won Classic Rock's Track of the Week for Hit and Run, our recent single. And that's all down to them, because that's a vote. And so I've got nothing but admiration for our fans. But I understand where a lot of people are coming from. That suggestion of musicians aren't necessarily held in the same regard as other professions in this country. But I can't tell you how it is in other places, because I just simply don't know.
That makes me feel a lot more positive. Actually, I'm going to finish there, and I'm going to finish on a high. That's made me feel a lot better. That has. I love your positive vibes, man. Empyre from Relentless. That's called Parasites, and before that you heard the title track. Thanks to Henrik. Look out for dates coming up shortly. Big Blackfield news then, getting the 7-disc deluxe book set with 64-page book treatment. Blackfield's work from 2004 to 2017 collected as An Accident of Stars. To celebrate then, this is Blackfield, Pain.
Standing on the seashore, she's gone. Now she's gone. All the angels praying for me as I fall, as I fall. While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain. She is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long? To my nightmare with the devil, I'll go strong. I'll go strong. All my friends now trying to save me. What a joke. What a joke. While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain. She is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long? While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain. She is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long? While I'm melting in the rain, deep in pain. She is so far. Will we ever meet again as friends after so long?
Blackfield, Pain from An Accident of Stars, the one-off pressing deluxe book set, 64-page book, 7 discs, the first 5 albums. Blackfield, Blackfield 2, Welcome to My DNA, remastered in 24-bit. Blackfield 4 and Blackfield 5, 5.1 surround sound, a bonus disc of the unreleased concert from Amsterdam, and a Blu-ray featuring promo videos and the concert film from New York City, out on the 14th of April. And talking of ye olden times, I'm incredulous to discover that it's 10 years since Weather Systems from Anathema. What a classic. Really miss those guys. So therefore it's 10 years since I visited a nuclear bunker in Wrexham, where the band were recording the LP in their pyjamas. Just before it came out, I spoke to Vincent about his brother Daniel.
Almost everything we do has got that depth of emotion. Danny creates music in a very kind of right brain sort of way, you know, very subconsciously, and he's hypnotized by a certain idea and likes to build and go deeper and deeper and deeper into a certain idea, you know, and he's also quite direct, you know, on this album particularly. Most of the lyrics are very, very, they're not really dressed up behind any kind of, you know, anything poetic or anything like that.
No, I know what you mean, because it seems that if there is a leitmotif of the lyric, it seems that they're a little bit more microscopic this time. It's like you are looking down.
Well, he's going straight to the heart of the matter. He's going, like anything in life, you have to be direct sometimes. If you're going to confront something, you've got to face it head on, and he's confronting things within himself, but he has to do it in that kind of, with that clarity of mind.
And I feel like I knew you before. And I guess that you can heal me through this song. And my love will never die, and my feelings will always shine, and my love will never die, and my feelings will always shine. Just want me to belong to someone, and I guess that now I'll just be moving on to someone. My love
Choked up listening to that, missed them badly. 10 years on, the classic Weather Systems by Anathema, that's Untouchable, Part 1. Now, talking of bands like Empyre getting ready to break it big, Klone are on tour with the mighty Devin Townsend. The tour through Europe has now hit the UK. The boys travelled overnight to the fabulous Bexhill-on-Sea and the quintessentially English De La Warr Pavilion, awaking to the sound of the seagulls. We sent Kscope's roving reporter Tris to catch up with Guillaume backstage for his initial reactions to his surroundings.
When I woke up, I discovered the sea by the window, so it's wow, where are you exactly? And it's in England, and the sun was there, so the sun is shining, and also the venue is pretty cool. All the people who are working there are so nice people, so it's good things, and also something amazing for a French guy who come in UK. It's that the food is very good.
The most important thing.
Of course, for a French guy, it's important, to have a good day. It's when you begin to hit something good, it helps you to have a good day.
Absolutely. So, how do you feel supporting the mighty Devin Townsend?
Oh, it's really something crazy for me, because sometimes I think I was thinking about this, and because it's strange each night, and it's not only for my part. It's just when I go to bed, I take my headphone and I still listen song from Devin, because I discovered a new album that I didn't know before.
Okay.
And it's after the show I need to hear once again his song, and for my part it's just something amazing, because I'm a big fan of Devin since the beginning of the first album he did, like Ocean Machine, and also Infinity, also Terria, Accelerating Evolution, P-Key, and all the other bands you have before, like Strapping Your Lad, and I know all his projects, even if I don't really know the last album he did today. I'm really in love with what he did by the past, and also now what he's doing today, because the new album is so cool, and it's a great pleasure for me to hear this song every night, and it's so cool, really. And it's a really nice guy,
He's an empath.
Empath, exactly. Sorry, exactly.
No.
Yeah.
It's only because his album.
Yeah.
So, obviously you're a massive fan of Devin Townsend. So, if you had to pick a song to cover and clonify, let's say,
it's not so easy, but
what song would it be?
When I think about it, I really like a song from Terria called Earth Day. And I remember when I discovered this song, it was so amazing for me, because I really like the voices part on this song, and it's something who blow me away. And so maybe this one, Earth Day, it's a really good song, and maybe the whole album of Ocean Machine is also something that really influenced me personally. When I remember when I discovered this album, it was something so cool, because I really like the way of Devin's production, to put a lot of reverb and delay on the guitars and voices, and for me it was opening my mind about this kind of production, and maybe you can still feel it today if you listen to Le Grand Voyage from Klone.
Yeah.
It's a really massive production with a lot of reverb everywhere, and maybe it come from because of when I was young I was listening to Devin Townsend album.
Oh, okay. Absolutely. So, what has been your favourite moment of the tour so far?
Wow, it's too complicated, because on this tour there is only great venue, and each night it's something amazing because the crowd is really cool, and there is a lot of people each night. We play around for more than 1,000 people, and everybody looks to be happy, to hear Klone or to discover the band, and we can feel it. And also, I'm also the merch guy. All the night I sell the CD, and I can speak with the people, and I can see in their eyes that they're really happy to discover the music. And I think it's a good thing to discover Klone live, for the first time, even something very good.
Yeah, do you think it has a different impact when people see you live compared to maybe when they might hear you on record?
It's a little bit more heavy. It's more metal, maybe we have more distortion on our guitar sound, and
What for you is kind of the definition of being progressive?
Wow, good question. I'm not. You can. There is no limit. If you have to compare with pop music, you have a special format. You have to do a song of 3 minutes, and it's a very. I think it will never stop. You know, it's like I like how the music changed today, because there is a different mix of different music, and I feel that there is more feeling in the songs than before.
Yeah.
Because if I listen a band from the 70s, there is a lot of technical things, you know, it was very technical, and today it becomes more easily to listen, and it's not, it's still good music, you know, and maybe it's better music because it's not just a musician who want to show how they play music, you know, it's just to make a good song, you know, it's not to show something, it's not like a competition.
Oh, my huge thanks to Tris and Guillaume for doing that. Right, I think we should finish with some Klone, but before I go, please like, share and comment wherever you find the Kscope podcast, and spread the word. Let's support these wonderful independent groups. From the new Klone album, meanwhile, I'll leave you with this, Bystander. Billy Reeves out. Ta-da.